Of course, the president can influence the judiciary. That is more of a long-term thing. The vast majority of the bench will be appointed by prior presidents, both Democratic and Republican, generally most of whom stand up for our Constitution and civil rights. But we're also worried about, the lack of enforcement from the executive side about civil rights provisions, whether it's Secretary DeVos not wanting to enforce to support LGBT rights in schools, whether it's the Office of Civil Rights now, the Department of Education, that is going to be focusing on discrimination against white people in education. Yes, look it up. That's what they announced a few days ago. It's a big problem. So at least the independent judiciary is a check on the actions they'll take, but on the actions they don't take, meaning the failure to enforce our law, there's very little check, because that is the executive branch's role. So the only real check will be electing a different president in 3 years, or if this president changes his mind and appoints people who actually want to enforce those laws. Congress can't. We can direct, again, obviously we can't even pass a law unless we have 2/3 without a signature, but assuming we had 2/3, all we can do is tighten up those laws and try to force them to do things. Again, I want to say I'm optimistic by these two acts where even the Republicans and Democrats in Congress united to rein in executive authority, no recess appointments, and you can't remove the sanctions on Russia. Those are the first two times that Congress has stood up. And they're important things in their own right, but they're also symbolically important because hopefully Republicans and Democrats in Congress will assert their prerogative on some of these others as well. We're trying to, and we have a little bit of bipartisan support, we haven't passed it yet, we want an independent commission in Congress to issue a full public account of this. That's a full accounting to the public. That's different than the charge of the FBI investigation. They're looking for criminal violations. We think there'll be charges. We hope there's charges. We'll see if people get convicted. But there should also be, like there was for the 9/11 Commission, a bipartisan commission of releases, including, very importantly, the policy recommendations to prevent it from happening again. So that's a big part of what we would hope to get if we could get an independent commission. That's the most the federal government can do, because honestly, voting is in the hands of counties and states. Besides the basic parameters we have, county clerks are deciding what vendors to use subject to their state laws, and there's not much of a constitutional role for the U.S. government in administering elections. So this is actually a thing we should be worried about now, both broadband privacy as well as net neutrality. There's a lot, it's one of those kind of special interest things, but your cable company, and they seem innocuous, and we all mostly have cable, but they're trying to kind of co-opt everybody else by going to Washington and getting Chairman Pai and the FCC and others to ascribe great power to them. And the first chink in this was in the House, where we removed broadband privacy protections. You might have heard about that too. Where basically removes the prohibition on your broadband provider, Comcast, getting all of the information that you enter on any internet site using Comcast. So I mean, whatever you are doing on the internet, Comcast would be able to target specific ads at you, knowing your interests. They would have the content, of your emails, forms you filled out, everything. Very different in my mind, and of course, when you engage with a particular internet company, like you're buying something on eBay or Amazon or something like that, you understand that that company gets that information. That's what you're doing. It's a consensual transaction. But there's not really a consensual aspect with broadband. They were removing that. They're saying they don't even need to ask your permission to use that information. So that was number one. Net neutrality is as bad, if not worse, if they get rid of it. What it would basically allow your cable company to do is, rather than offering you the internet, meaning you can go to whatever site you want, companies would have to pay them, or they could have faster internet access for sites that they have an affiliation with or own, or pay them a fee. So generally those would be the big guys. So what that would mean is, let's say you're deciding between, watching something on Netflix and Amazon Video, and many other competitors too. Comcast could do a deal with one of them where they give them a ton of money, and then you would really only be able to live stream movies on that one, because the other one would be a slower version of the internet. You wouldn't be able to watch it anymore. Not to mention the fact that this would totally cut out tomorrow's garage startup. One of the great things about the internet is anybody can offer a new disruptive product or service at very little cost and make it available to a global audience, right? This would put the small entrepreneurs and small businesses at a huge disadvantage compared to the big guys who